Hello and welcome to the Who University of Law. In today's video I'm going to go through the recent announcement or the recent release of cover art and more story details on the third instalment of Doctor Who's 60th anniversary extravaganza, Once and Future. So this one's coming out in July, so next month. I have to say, based on the cover art, this is the one that I'm most excited about out of the three we've had so far. And I have to say, each one I've been more excited about. I was really excited about seeing the curator back, as played by Colin Baker. But to get this, I know this cover's been revealed before we've even heard the second one, and I guess when I get to this one, this just thrills me, the look of this front cover. I did assume we were going to get the Sixth Doctor in this one, but the fact that we've had him as the curator makes me think, well, maybe we've done 4, 5, 6, 7, because I thought we've got 7 releases this year, haven't we, and the 8th next year, so that's 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th. I assumed that's 7 Doctors, isn't it, across 7 releases, and then a bonus one the year after. But the fact that we've already got through, 4 of them by release 3. Is there an extra Doctor that we don't know about? Will we get the Sixth Doctor later on, after all? I think that's probably most likely, but, could there be that we get the War Doctor in one of them? Could we get the Fugitive Doctor in one of them? Could we get the third, or the first, or the second? Who knows? Maybe there's another Doctor who is making a cameo. Maybe they've got someone like Jodie Whittaker, or indeed David Tennant playing the 14th incarnation as well. Who knows? But I think it's most likely we'll get the Sixth Doctor at some point later. But I thought they'd strictly go 4, 5, 6, 7. And it looks like they haven't done that yet. That did throw me when I saw that. Yeah, there must be a Sixth Doctor one with hindsight, because they haven't given him a special edition cover yet, because it was only the 5th and the last one. So there must be at least I hope there is, because I'd love for there to be the Sixth Doctor for that collection, that special edition collection. But anyway, let's dive in. So this is part 3, coming out in July. It's got A Genius for War by Jonathan Morris. So straight away I was drawn to this. I mean, there's so much to see in this cover, but in the top corner here we've got what looks like where his trial took place in his 6th incarnation. Possibly, it's definitely Time Lord architecture. We've got Dalek ships all around it. We've got very much the Party of the Ways style ship. We've got our Dalek Supreme from Journey's End, that style Supreme. We've got our Bronze Dalek, and of course Davros back. Now it's basically established in that first one that this is the 8th Doctor, so I think this is set sometime before Night of the Doctor, so I'm guessing it's either just before Cass, the box set, or at some point after the Cass saga is finished and just before he does Night of the Doctor, so it's towards the end of the 8th Doctor's life. Either way, all the backstory that we've had with the 8th Doctor and Veclin and the General from the 8th Doctor Time War volumes 1 to 4 will certainly be explored here. We'll carry on that lore, which I'm really excited about. I'm so glad. I know it's got a Time War setting, and I thought that maybe it was just convenient because it was a Time War and they could do this regeneration bomb. But I was a bit disappointed. I thought, it would have been nice to have had more to do with the Time War, because the last 2 sets haven't really done it. I mean, I know in the first instalment they talk about how they can break free of the constraints of the Time War, but I'm really glad that they're diving right back into it and getting some lore, and actually seeing a 7th Doctor in there as well. So we can definitely pick up where we left off with the General and Vector and their character development from the 8th Doctor audios. Obviously we haven't quite got to the development of the War Doctor stuff yet, but it's that nice in-between period. What I'm most excited about is this picks up Davros' story, because when we last saw Davros, he was being imprisoned by the Daleks at the end of the 4th box set. He'd have to surrender. He'd been resurrected and he had to be surrendered. And we know full well that his life ends when he is forced into the jaws of the Nightmare Child. We know that happens eventually. But I was thinking, will they show that, or was that it? Are we never going to see him again? Because they could have just left it, because we then find out in Journey's End we pick up the story there. And it does make sense. We pick up the story and it fills you in. So technically they don't have to ever have him in again. They've told us how he gets back into his familiar form, and they could have just said, right, well, that's it. But no, we're carrying the story on, and it picks up where the last one left off. And I'm really excited because I love Davros as a character, and I especially love how Big Finish, because he has all these great television appearances, but there's always so much more in his story. There's always, every time we see him, there's stuff that's happened in between appearances off screen, and it's very clear that there's been development there. We don't see it because there's not time to do it on screen, but Big Finish with Gary Russell had that great trilogy where we've really explored Davros, and I'm glad that we're doing it here. We're picking that story up. He filled in between resurrection and revelation, revelation and remembrance, They then did a sequel, Terra Firma. And then, of course, since that release, we've had Journey's End. And now these audios are bridging the gap between Terra Firma and Journey's End. Great. At some point, I'd love them to do some Matt Smith stuff filling the gap between Journey's End and Magician's Apprentice, but that'll be at some point in the future. Anyway, so here we are. So this looks like a really exciting, fun box. And also just seeing the 7th Doctor in that environment. Although he's the 8th Doctor in a different form, we're excited to hear Sylvester McCoy engage in these Time War stories. So it says, Terry Malloy joins the cast of the epic full-cast audio drama marking 60 years of Doctor Who. Does Dalek creator Davros hold the key to the mysterious weapon which injured the Doctor during the Time War, or is he pursuing a more terrible agenda? We've got Sylvester McCoy as the 7th Doctor, alongside Ken Bones as the General and Beth Chalmers as Commander Vecklin. In the midst of the Time War, the Time Lords have received a communication from Fulcus, the prison moon of Skaro. Its sole inmate, Davros, wishes to make them an offer. He will help them win the Time War, but only if the Doctor comes to his rescue. Maybe we'll see the Nightmare Child in this. Who knows? Maybe we'll see him try to rescue Davros. So it's $10.99 on CD or $8.99 on digital. Special edition is now sold out, I believe. Terry Malloy said, the thing I've always said about Davros and the Doctor is that they have a kind of touching respect for each other, as well as a hatred, because they know they're both on the same intellectual level, and they know they're both alone. So for them, and for me, the joyous bit is the intellectual chess game that they play with each other, as to who's going to win rather than the bangs and the whistles. At the end of it, it's all about the battle of the minds. I have to say, I always think Colin Baker really does engage well with Davros, and he's done most of the audios with Davros as well, especially in last year's Doctor of War one as well. And I know when they played some old clips, classic clips, in his Magician's Apprentice appearance, Davros, the most prominent one you could hear, the one that stood out the most to me, was the Colin Baker stuff. He has a great rapport with Davros. Having said that, I thought Sylvester McCoy, there was some great potential there in Remembrance of the Daleks. I'd love to see that play out here. Because he's never, this incarnation has never seen Davros in this form. He's always been the Emperor in the Seven Doctors Live, so that'll be interesting to see. Sylvester McCoy and I have worked together many times in the past. We have known each other for a long time, way before Doctor Who. It's always great fun to get together again with him. There we have it. So what are your thoughts? What are you most excited about this release? I think this is the one I'm most excited about, but I think I'm just hoping now that each time they've done a set, I've been more excited, but each one's become more and more thrilling. So goodness knows what they're going to do next. Very exciting. What are your thoughts? Do let us know in the comments below. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe. I look forward to speaking to you soon.